Sunset, the song that introduced many of us to Blu-Swing. This glossy city pop dance track is the third song off their 8th studio album Transit, released in 2013. And this song has come quite a long way, sitting at over 2 million views at the time of making this video, and being their most streamed song on Spotify with over 6 million plays. But behind this song are 5 talented musicians who are true hidden gems in the J-music scene, releasing multiple albums and touring around Asia. But how did Blu-Swing get to where they are now in the first place? So, Blu-Swing initially started as a 4-piece backing band in 2004, working side by side with Jitty Soul, who at the time went by Shade for their debut album Devotion. They would release 3 albums together, calling themselves Blu-Swing and Shade, with the original band members consisting of Sho Kojima on guitar, Shinji Hasuke on bass, Tomoaki Miyamoto on drums, and Yusuke Nakamura, who joined a year later as a writer and producer. When it came to their second album, Forwarder, an important piece of the puzzle would be complete, as Yuri Tanaka had joined as a guest vocalist for this project. And it seemed that the band were really captivated by her voice, as she eventually joined as a permanent member. Finally, in 2007, they released their third album, Jaster, which would be the trigger for generating even more buzz for the band. After this release, there was some reshuffling to the group going forward, with Shade stepping aside as a supporting artist, and eventually the group settled down into its now current members, and officially called themselves Blu-Swing. The band was really inspired and wanted to emulate American blues and swing music. Would you look at that? Anyways, the band quickly started working on their debut album as just Blu-Swing, with that album being Revision. Now, the thing about Revision was that there were quite a few hiccups during the making of this project, with Yuri saying, "When we were making Revision, the form of Blu-Swing was new and all of the members were trying things out. There were many misunderstandings, such as about musicality and how to perform live. When we had the opportunity to release a CD, we just went all in. The members clashed with each other many times. One of the main challenges was how the band would be very insistent on the minute details of each aspect of the songs, thinking about how they could mix live and program sounds and picking just the right chords and grooves for each track. Tomoaki even temporarily left the group, saying, "When Revision was released, I had left the band and joined as a support member. Of course, I was involved in the production of the drum recordings, but on a deeper level, I was watching from the outside. I think that's why I was able to calmly look at the attitude of the members towards their work. The attention to detail, like the choice of sounds for each part, was really amazing." Eventually, the band ended up very proud of this album, and deservingly so, having it released in 2008 under Columbia Music Records. And of course, it features some amazing tunes mixing jazz, bossa nova, fusion and hip-hop, all topped off with Yuri Tanaka's stellar vocals that I just can't get enough of, along with the additional vocalists of Angela Johnson and Shade. And I gotta say, this album cover is giving strong Fruitiger Metro vibes. That last track, Fallen, is such a gem. Yuri's vocals are just too sweet, I'm at a loss for words. Anyways, this album undoubtedly started to put them on the map, because it hit some solid achievements, reaching #1 on the HMV club charts, and it secured a #3 spot in the J-pop charts. With Revision, it was an album that's main focus was to show off their instrumentation and songwriting abilities, and with their next albums, they would set out to capitalize on those. After Revision, they would continue releasing a couple projects, building up their catalog. These projects would be a consistent mix of remixes and new album versions of their older songs, along with additional new ones which would be a trend on their later albums. But let's start with Bottom Line, having Yuri as the cover, showing fans who would be front and center of the band's vocals from here on out. The album was released in 2009 and brought in a plethora of exciting flavors, from songs like Kron and Horizon being some of my favorites. But some of these Blu-Swing albums have been pretty hard to find online, barely being available on streaming services or YouTube. I've only been able to find scattered tracks on small channels, which I'll include in the playlist below. And for my new subscribers, check out my Spotify playlist featuring all songs from my videos in the meantime too. Anyways, after Bottom Line, they would only continue to grow, releasing more albums such as Secret of Affections in 2010, and in 2012 with 2 albums, Find Your Way and 1212, where Find Your Way felt more like a summer intimate album with songs like Teo Noviel and It Was You, and 1212 being a continuation of Find Your Way with a bigger spotlight on acoustic elements and raw vocals. The band stated that Find Your Way pursued straightforward music that could be instantly explained from the foundation stage. On the other hand, 1212 focuses on the parts that were not expressed in Find Your Way. I think that the direction of acoustic music came out because I didn't want to create unnecessary sounds. Now this leads us right back into the intro of this video, following the story after sunset. Now, in my own opinion, I'd break down Blu-Swing's career into two phases, with the first being in 2008 with Revision until 2015 with their album Flash, which would mark the end of this first phase. The next phase I'll get into a little bit later into this video, but let's take a look at those two albums, Transit and Flash. With Transit being released in 2013, it didn't only have Sunset, but it carried many different bangers that I encourage you to listen, such as Fly High and Freak the Funk. And if you're really looking for something similar to Sunset, well, Like We're Lovers might just be what you're looking for. They did release another album in 2014 called Arrival, but this was more of a remix album that had very few new songs. In 2015 though, they released Flash, which would be a complete album of new songs and some amazing songs at that, such as Flash and Flight. After these albums were released, they went on a bit of a hiatus, much like many bands that I cover on my channel. And in 2016, Yuri Tanaka had released her own city pop album series called City Lights, which she would cover many city pop songs. And it's not just Yuri exploring different projects, but the other band members too would go on to write and produce music for other projects such as films, commercials, and writing music for other artists. I'd even argue this helped the band a little bit more because when it comes to writing music for Blu-Swing, they'll come back with something new to add. In 2019 though, the band would make a comeback with their 10th anniversary album, including a new single, I Am, which I'd mark as the start of the second phase of Blu-Swing. With this so-called first and second phase that I completely made up for the group, I wouldn't even say that the music changed all that much, but you can definitely feel a difference in the overall vibes of their music with the first and second phase, and I'd conclude this all comes down to their branding and marketing. As in the first phase, the band never really had much presence in terms of music video, photo shoots, or album covers, only having the Flash and Sunset videos which weren't even released on their own channel. Comparing that to now, where I've been seeing them a lot more than ever on my timeline, all starting with Yuri's Dancing on the Beach from the I Am music video in 2019, released on their very own music channel this time. This was a pretty hyped time for me and many other fans because we could feel that they were definitely cooking something with the series of releases from Kurage and Moment. And working with Wonderium, they released some gorgeous visuals for their music videos and also rolling out a cool one-time series, Being the Play, a cool live session set playing songs curated for the seasons of summer, winter, autumn, and spring. But when it came to April 2023, Blu-Swing would announce that their first album after 8 years would finally be released. So in 2023, Blu-Swing announced a much anticipated album, Spectre. With this album, it definitely leaned more towards a city pop sound, but I'd have to preference that the album took many pieces of the genre and adding that Blu-Swing touch that we all know and love, with songs like We'll Be Right Back blending rock and city pop, and Deja Vu with its rustic blues and drum and bass group to the track. But of course, you'll find that classic Blu-Swing sound in here too. This album marked the comeback of Blu-Swing and made a statement that they had no signs of slowing down, as just last year in 2024 they released yet another album, being Panorama. This album felt like a sequel to Spectre, but with some very interesting variations to the project, with of course some city pop, some smooth jazz, and future bass. Now I can almost guarantee that they'll be releasing yet another album this year, after recently dropping their latest single in March. I'm really looking forward to the future of this band, and it's always great to see that they're still working together and playing at shows around Asia and working on new music. Now, I want to say a massive thank you for the support as of late on this channel. It's really cool to see this mini community that we build up where everyone can share their stories and cool facts on the bands that I talk about. Definitely looking forward to what you guys have to say about Blu-Swing, and if you have any suggestions, then let me know down below, and yeah, catch you in the next one. Peace.